Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. More of this, please. Hit 'em where it hurts. The mainstream media must be held to account, folks. And the only way to do it is exactly like I said, hit 'em where it hurts. Right in the pocketbooks. These people feel emboldened, empowered to say what they want when they want with near impunity, and the only way to stop them is by hitting them right in the wallet, essentially suing them for clear defamation. Nick Sandmann started a trend. Kyle Rittenhouse is next to jump on. Now we have Donald Trump threatening to sue CNN, and Turning Point USA threatening to sue The View, which immediately has them at attention. And even the woke defamatory ABC's The View immediately responded with a full correction and apology following their garbage reporting. Folks, it's the only way to hold the left accountable. The lies have to stop, and the only way to stop them is to hit them with a barrage of lawsuits. Lawsuits that they frankly deserve. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on here. We got some stuff to talk about, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so take a look at this. Turning Point USA issues cease and desist letter to ABC News over defamatory statements on, quote, The View. Turning Point USA issued a scathing cease and desist letter to ABC News on Tuesday, calling for the Disney-owned company to retract the defamatory statements made earlier this week on The View or face legal action. This right here was the segment from The View.
There was this Turning Point conference. Neo-Nazis were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs and the Nazi swastika and a picture of a so-called Jewish person with exaggerated features, just like Goebbels did in Hitler during the Third Reich. It's the same thing.
And Turning Point USA wrote, the false statements of fact intentionally made during The View's July 25th segment were unquestionably harmful to TPUSA's reputation and brought the organization and its student affiliates into disrepute with the public, potential donors, and current and future business partners, posing a significant financial loss to the organization, the letter said. And absolutely good on them, and immediately ABC's The View tucked their tail between their legs and issued an on-air live apology to Turning Point USA.
So on Monday, we talked about the fact that there were openly neo-Nazi demonstrators outside the Florida Student Action Summit of the Turning Point USA group. We want to make clear that these demonstrators were gathered outside the event and that they were not invited or endorsed by Turning Point USA. A Turning Point USA spokesman said the group, quote, 100% condemns those ideologies, and said Turning Point USA security tried to remove the neo-Nazis from the area but could not because they were on public property. Also, Turning Point USA wanted us to clarify that this was a Turning Point USA summit and not a Republican Party event. So we apologize for anything we said that may have been unclear on these points.
And folks, we need to see more of this. This constant defamation and slander that we see from the left, neo-Nazi this, right-wing bigot, extremist, blah, 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 white nationalist. It's the same garbage over and over again. And it's not an issue of free speech. What they're doing is illegal. Defamation of character, slander, unfairly damaging someone's brand and reputation is a crime. And the left has to be accountable for it, because this is a cheap, disgusting tactic that the left uses, and it's something that they're using more of. You guys remember Tiki Torch Gate during the Virginia gubernatorial election back in 2021? Does this picture ring a bell? Outside Glenn Youngkin's campaign event, 5 mysterious figures showed up wearing the same shirt, cargo pants they probably picked up at Target, brand new baseball caps, and brand new tiki torches, which the media immediately ran with. Tiki Torch white nationalist, very scary people show up at Glenn Youngkin's campaign. Not even a couple hours later, most of these individuals were identified as being Democrat campaign staffers, campaign aides or volunteers and whatnot, and the Democratic campaign office that was connected to this complete hoax had to issue a statement that it was actually a political statement that they were making. They weren't trying to mislead the public. No, of course not. Only did they issue that statement after being caught. This is what the left does. False flag events. Whether they're small and just little blips on the radar, the more they do this, the more it piles up, and it creates an optics narrative, which is exactly what the Democrats do. And very conveniently, and definitely not a coincidence at all, outside the Turning Point USA event, a bunch of supposed very scary extremist figures show up outside the event, all of them covering their face, and the media runs with a slanderous story connecting it to the Turning Point USA event. It was actually a Gateway Pundit reporter who was on the ground interviewing these individuals, and nothing about this situation situation, or this little optics game that these individuals were playing, seemed legitimate. They all had different stories. Apparently they were all not even connected. They just happened to show up. That was their story. All just happened to show up on the same day, completely unconnected and totally unorganized. None of them wanted to show their identities. And it all just screams one word: Fed. Now, obviously you guys get what I mean. I don't mean necessarily that they're federal agents, but it's the same sort of thing that we see with the Patriot Front group and all of this other nonsense. These individuals that look like cartoons, like caricatures that show up, and all of a sudden they become the story, and the media just focuses on that over and over again. It's just too fishy, too weird, too convenient for the Democrat narrative to believe is genuine. It seems like an organized political game that Democrats and leftists around the world, frankly, are playing. We also saw the exact same thing during the Freedom Convoy protests in Canada. There was one individual, completely unidentified, nobody knew who he was, who showed up with a particular flag, and the entire thing became about that one individual in the optics, or the optics message that Democrats were trying to create. Of course, we remember Justin Trudeau trying to cast the entire group, the entire movement, in that same light, and now it's the same thing. There is nothing genuine or organic about any of this, and it's time to hold these people accountable. They cannot any longer, no longer, should they be allowed to get away with their tactics of defamation, their false flag events, where they have clearly shown their malicious intent and just how despicable they are. They were willing to go after, to castigate, to defame and slander a young kid, a 16-year-old kid, I believe at the time, in Nicholas Sandman, to ruin this kid's life. Of course, we know how the college system works in the corporate woke world, willing to destroy people's lives and destroy organizations in order to achieve their political ends. The answer is very simple. Sue them into oblivion. There needs to be accountability for one's actions, otherwise the same figures will continue to do the exact same thing. I mean, guess who was a target of the cease and desist letter for slandering 5,000 students at the TPUSA event as being Nazi sympathizers? Of course, none other than Whoopi Goldberg, who's also possibly going to be the target of a defamation lawsuit involving Kyle Rittenhouse. There's a reason why it's the same people over and over again, because they feel like they can get away with it, and no longer should that be the case. The baseline standard should be, if you are going to slander and defame people, if you're going to lie for your political optics or your framing narrative, then get your lawyer and get your bank account ready. And frankly, these lawsuits should be crowdfunded so the collective power of the conservative world can be used for good against the fake news media. I don't know about you guys, but I would instantly donate to a legal cause against Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg. I wouldn't even think twice about punching in my credit card information. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned this in the intro. Donald Trump is now threatening to sue CNN for defamation. Really, the only thing that I have to say is, do it. Again, folks, a barrage of lawsuits is the only thing to counter these dirty Democrat games. That's what I got for you guys on this one, though. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like. I gotta get back to work. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.